At the far end of Maple Street, where the road cracked and the streetlights flickered like tired eyes, stood a small grey house that most people forgot existed. The paint peeled like old skin, the fence leaned as if exhausted, and the mailbox had not seen a letter in years. Inside that house lived Margaret Holloway. She was 74 years old. To the neighborhood, she was just another old woman waiting for death. She walked slowly, spoke little, and never complained. People assumed she had always been this way, quiet, fragile, harmless. They were wrong. Margaret Holloway had not always been silent. She had once been loud with dreams, sharp with intelligence, and strong enough to build a life from nothing. And then, one man took everything. 42 years earlier, Margaret Holloway was a woman people noticed. She had chestnut hair, bright eyes, and a confidence that came from knowing her worth. She worked as an accountant in Chicago, one of the few women in her firm who could outthink the men twice her age. Her husband, Daniel Holloway, was a civil engineer, honest, hard-working, and deeply in love with her. Together, they built more than a marriage. They built a real estate development company. Margaret handled the money. Daniel handled construction. They trusted each other completely. They believed the world rewarded honesty. That belief would destroy them. The man who ruined them was named Victor Crane. Victor Crane smiled too easily and listened too carefully. He was charming in public and ruthless in private. He became Daniel's business partner after pretending to be a loyal friend. Margaret never trusted him. But Daniel did. Victor slowly took control: contracts, banks, lawyers. He convinced Daniel to sign papers Margaret never saw. He whispered about expansion, risk, power. Then one night, Daniel never came home. A construction accident, they said. Margaret screamed until her voice broke. The investigation was rushed. The evidence disappeared. Victor Crane stood beside her at the funeral, offering condolences with dry eyes. Within 6 months, Margaret lost the company. Within 1 year, she lost her home. Within 2 years, she lost her name. Poverty did not arrive like a storm. It crept in quietly. Margaret sold her jewelry. Then her furniture. Then her dignity. She worked as a grocery store cashier. Then as a motel cleaner. Then as a night nurse aide. Victor Crane became a millionaire. He bought politicians. He bought judges. He bought silence. Margaret learned a painful truth: justice is expensive. And she was broke. There were nights Margaret sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall, wondering if death would be easier. But then she remembered Daniel's laugh. Daniel's hands. Daniel's belief in her. And something inside her refused to die. She made a decision: I may not be able to fight today. But I will live long enough to fight tomorrow. That was the night Margaret Holloway stopped being a victim. Margaret changed herself. She dressed plainly. She spoke softly. She avoided attention. She let the world believe she was weak. Invisible people see everything. She read books on law. She learned about corporate fraud. She studied how powerful men fall. Years passed. Victor Crane built an empire called Crane Holdings. Margaret Holloway aged. But her mind sharpened. At 68, Margaret moved to a small town in Ohio, the same state where Victor Crane now headquartered his company. Coincidence? No. She took a part-time job as a records clerk in a county office. It paid little, but it gave her access. permits, land records, environmental filings. Margaret noticed something familiar. Forgery, false valuations, illegal land seizures. Victor Crane was still stealing. Margaret bought a simple notebook. Every night, she wrote dates, names, numbers, patterns. She connected dots no one else had the patience to see. Years of evidence filled that notebook. She knew one mistake could kill her plan. So she waited. His name was Ethan Cole. He was a junior reporter, ambitious, frustrated, ignored. Margaret watched him speak at a local event about corruption. He reminded her of Daniel Young, honest, stubborn. She approached him after the speech. "I have something you need to see," she said. Ethan almost laughed. Almost. Until she opened the notebook. Ethan verified everything. It took months. Then the first article went live, Crane Holdings accused of systemic fraud. Victor Crane laughed on television. Margaret Holloway smiled at home. Because she knew. This was only the beginning.